Hey Callista kids, welcome back to the Callista Quarantine Kitchen. Please remember, always cook with an adult supervising you. We don't want any accidents in the lockdown. So tonight we are cooking Sukiyaki Don, a favourite Japanese recipe of ours. Sukiyaki comes from the Kansai area of Japan, which is central Honshu, and Osaka and Kyoto are both in Kansai. So, to start, we are going to mix some eggs. We're going to beat them, but only lightly. We don't need to beat them too much. This recipe is super easy. It has very few ingredients. It's pretty versatile. It's really delicious with tofu. We're going to make ours with beef tonight. And it literally is like 5 ingredients. So we serve this. Well, it's a don. So don buri means bowl, literally translated. And any kind of don in Japanese, teriyaki don or katsu don, means anything that's served on top of rice in a bowl as a 1 bowl meal. Okay, so 4 eggs beaten and very lightly mixed, but not aerated as such. So I'll put that down and that's ready to go. Next I'm going to mix the sauce together. The sauce has 3 ingredients. I'm only going to put 2 in to start with. So the sauce is soy sauce and cooking sake. So cooking sake you should be able to get from the supermarket, often in a smaller bottle and with not so much Japanese writing on it. Cooking sake, by the way, does not have any alcohol content. So I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. I use Yamasa soy. I think it's really the most delicious, but you may not be able to get it at the moment. And then 8 tablespoons of the cooking sake. Might just have enough. Oh, perfect. So that sauce is ready to go and the egg's ready to go, so I'm going to put it over here by the stove. And our next job is to chop up the leeks. So I have 2 leeks ready to go. I'm going to move these and then I'm going to chop them in half. These leeks are usually pretty clean. Yep, they're ready to go. And this is a fairly rough chop, doesn't need to be too thin. This is the only vegetable I'm going to put in tonight. You can put other veggies in. Quite often people will add mushrooms or usually enoki mushrooms, the small thin ones, or shiitake mushrooms. But these stew up really nicely with the beef and the egg and add lots of flavour. So sukiyaki is a nabe mono. Nabe in Japanese means hot. So it's just a lot of things cooked, usually in a kind of fairly saucy kind of stew or sometimes even a soup. Okay, so I'm going to put the leek into a bowl, and that's ready to go now too. And then I shall explain about our beef. So this is a rump steak, about a half a kilo, and I put it in the freezer about 3.5 hours ago, maybe a little longer. It's not completely frozen, and I didn't want it completely frozen. I wanted it to be stiff enough to slice thinly. So normally when we make this dish, we buy beef roll or shabu beef from the Asian grocer. But as we are not allowed to travel too far at the moment, our Asian grocer that we go to is in Collingwood, and we thought it was a little bit too far to go. So we are using what we can from the local supermarket. Okay. So you want this beef to be cut in really thin strips. Well, not really thin strips, but you know, reasonably thin strips. Oh. I don't know if you can see that on camera, hopefully. And we are going to serve this tonight on koshi hikari rice. So koshi hikari is available at Woolies. I assume it's probably also available at Coles. It's a short grain Japanese rice. If you can't get Japanese rice, any type of short or even medium grain rice will be fine. Or brown rice if you wanted a healthier alternative, which I am quite often happy to have mine on brown rice too. So our beef's ready to go. We're going to take it over to the stove and cook it in a frying pan. So meet me over here. So I have the frying pan over a high flame, and it's reasonably warm. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil in. I just use rice bran oil. Doesn't smoke, and it doesn't add any flavour to the food that you're cooking. So I'll put the beef in. Oh, it's not as hot as I thought it was. And I'll just fry that off until it's kind of browned all over. So the beef is cooked down. It's pretty well browned. There's a few little pink spots left, but not many. So, and now I'm going to tip the leek in and stir it through. And then I'm actually going to put the lid on it and let the leek sweat a little bit. So you want the leek to become nice and translucent. So the leek is nice and soft and translucent. I'm now going to put the sugar in. In Japan, most sauces are reasonably sweet. This recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of sugar, but we tend to put about half of that in, otherwise it's just too sweet. It does have a sweetness to the dish, which is delicious, but I don't like it too sweet. Then I'm going to pour the sauce in and give it a good stir. So you're going to make sure that the sugar's dissolved. And that everything's well mixed into the sauce. Now I'm going to add our eggs in. The important thing about the egg is not to overcook it. So I'm actually going to turn the heat off and then put the egg in, and then the heat from the food will cook the egg, but you don't want the egg to become overcooked. You want it to be soft. Sometimes they actually serve this with an onsen egg or a soft poached egg on the top of the beef rather than stirred through. Also delicious, but when you're cooking for a family of 6, a little bit too much work. So you can see that as you move it around, the egg is cooking through the beef. And that's just about ready to go. So I'm going to serve some rice, which I have sitting nice and hot in my rice cooker. And then I'm going to put some beef on top. So this is my lovely Japanese rice cooker. Put some rice in the bottom. This rice is pretty filling, you don't need a huge amount. Oops. Maybe about that much. Then I'll take some Sukiyaki Don and pop it on top. Smells delicious. Then I'm going to put some shichimi togarashi, on top. So this is a mix of 7 spices, Japanese mix. It's quite spicy. It has red chili in it. It also has black and white sesame seeds, nori, a little bit of seaweed, usually some either orange or yuzu peel. What else? And some ginger, I think, sometimes. Anyway, I like a little bit. My daughter Maya uses a whole lot. It just adds a really nice flavour to the beef. So that is our Sukiyaki Don ready for dinner. I hope you enjoy cooking this week. Please put any photos of your Sukiyaki Don onto the Learn at Home page on the Callista Facebook page. I forgot to mention also when we were cooking that this is really great with tofu also. So you can just buy some nice firm tofu or some pre-fried tofu, slice it up and cook it exactly the same way. So have a great week and itadakimasu.